Hey everybody, what's up? Good to see you. I'm Jim Coward. This is Phil. We're going to be leading you in this section, step one, and we're going to be talking about vision and preparation. And before we get into the notes there on page 4, tell us, Phil, dig down, tell us your story, when you got started and where you are now.
Well, one of the guys who's had a great impact, obviously, I've had really Ron in my hip pocket, so it's an incredible coach, and I've also been through 3 coaching networks. But let me tell you sort of what happened to us is that I'd served in youth ministry for 18 years, and then I became a senior pastor of a church in South Alabama. They actually call it L.A., Lower Alabama, but it was way across the bay from Mobile, and my wife had just lost her dad with a brain tumor, and we were there at Christmas, and I was there, had been at the church as a lead pastor in South Alabama for 7.5 years. And I went to Lake Point, where Steve Stroop, that you'll hear from later, where Steve is the pastor. And I just sat in amazement and really watched what Steve did, because I sat there and I watched Steve just, his church, his worship service lasted an hour, and I couldn't believe how much they could pack into an hour. Was it during that time that I looked at my wife and I said to her, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do this anymore. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, all I know is that for the last 7.5 years is that all our church does is that we scream at darkness, but we never invade darkness. And I've become the same way, and we sort of pick a few sins that we talk about, that we sort of trumpet, that we're all against this, and I thought we're not reaching anybody. Mm-hmm. I saw Lake Point and what they were doing and seeing how they were reaching people. Obviously, it's in the Metroplex and that Dallas area. But for us, vision was what everything was for us, because I just couldn't be in a church anymore where we never were seeing any life change. And it was just, it really become a country club where everybody just came. There was some great people, but for me, it was about sticking to the vision that, okay, I want to be a part of a church that really makes a difference in people's lives.
That may be why some of you guys are here.
How's everybody? It's just too close.
You're just going to get him set up. I had a similar situation. We started Harvest Church 10 years ago. And before that, I was an associate pastor at a church. And everything was good, but I became discontent because I really wasn't seeing adults come to know Christ. And I thought, man, why are we doing this if not for that? So we went out to Saddleback, and we went through a week-long process. And this conference in these 2 days is kind of a contextualized, it's kind of a tweaked version of that. And man, I'm so thankful for some of the guys on the stage, Ron and Dave and Hal and some of the others, because they poured into us. And it's been a great 10 years. It's been a hard 10 years. But we really are, Ron said we're practitioners. I'm a satisfied customer of this product. And so I think it's important that you know that. I think they have some books for you. They're going to give out the Purpose-Driven Church. But just to tell you this, we've experienced good growth. We started with just my wife Jennifer, who's in the back there, and our 2 kids. And we thought, we got to grow this thing, because Jennifer's heard all my sermons and my kids aren't tithing. We got to get some more people in the seats if this thing's going to last more than 6 months. So we threw ourselves into this model and this vision, and we started off meeting in a high school, and then we met in a Ramada Inn banquet room, and then we were 5 years in a movie theater. So we were portable for 7 years, and we've seen great things. We've grown from the 4 people in my family to we had a little over 2,300 people this past week. And I'm a pretty average guy. And I really think that when you take average people and you give them a great model, then it helps to get above average results. So I say that to say, you're here, and the name of this thing is Nuts and Bolts. And we're just going to unpackage this and try to share some of the things that worked well, some of the things that maybe didn't. And how do you do this thing? When I started thinking about starting a church, I had a lot of passion, I had a lot of enthusiasm. What I didn't have was this. I didn't have a model. I felt like a locomotive that I didn't have any tracks to run on. And for us, this purpose-driven, which is kind of merged into Next, that gave us a track to run on. So we're in this on page 4, if you want to follow along in your notes, preparing to launch a new church. Preparation stage is very important. I know you guys did preparation, and you've probably seen the Olympics on TV where they've got the running broad jump or the long jump. And you see these guys, and they're sprinters, and they're fast, and they're getting up, building up speed, and all of a sudden they hit that board, boom, and they just sail. That's the preparation stage. Now, there's another event. They don't put this on TV very much because it's not that exciting. It's the standing broad jump. Have you ever seen this? It's where somebody just stands and they jump as far as they can. It's not nearly as exciting. There's not as much momentum. But some churches start like that. The more momentum you can build in this preparation stage, as you start thinking, okay, we haven't launched yet, we haven't done our preview services yet, we've got to prepare ourselves, we've got to prepare the systems, the more highly the probability of success is going to be. So let's fill in some of these blanks. Number 1 is this: develop a clear vision for the church. You want to dig down on that any?
Yeah, I'll do that. You know, and I think the thing for us is that when we talk about developing this clear vision for the church itself, is that I honestly had no idea what that really was supposed to look like. You know, I'd heard people talk about vision. And I thought, okay, now to put it on a paper and actually to live by it, because it's going to be on paper, so we really have to believe in our hearts. And, you know, when we talk about developing vision, the only thing that I knew was that I knew 2 things. Number 1 is that we wanted to reach people. And that's all, you know, I'm in just east of Nashville, Tennessee. It's where Lifeway is. I mean, there are churches everywhere. And yet, when they did the demographic study that I got, was that 80% of the people in Wilson County, which is the county we're in, they don't go to church anywhere, not Easter, Christmas, anywhere. And all I knew that I wanted to do was to reach people. And the second thing that I wanted to do was that I had been in churches for so long, and maybe you've been in that same church, where you're reaching these moms who are coming by themselves and bringing their kids with them, but dad's staying at home. We really wanted to reach those men. And so everything that we were targeting was that we're going to try to do our best to reach men. And so when we talk about developing a clear vision, in all honesty, you know, we didn't know what the words were, but one thing that we did was that, I mean, I know everybody says this, but we wanted to reach people, and we wanted to see people grow in their faith. And that was sort of it. And that's all that we had. And so from that standpoint, that's exactly where we started, because we knew that was the heart of God as well, that, okay, to reach and disciple.
That next blank is vision is God-given. And I want to dig down on that for a second, because for me, we hear people talk about vision, and we say, yes, we got to have a vision for God. I kind of want to demystify that a little bit, or at least just kind of tell you my experience, because you heard Ron say in the opening, one of the things he wants to do is maybe talk you out of doing this. Now, the reason he says that is he wants to save you some heartache if this is not what you're supposed to do. And I kind of feel torn. I love hanging around church planners, and I want to tell you guys one thing. On the one hand, is you can do this. You know, go and do it. But on the other hand, and this is where the tension is, I got to tell you, it's hard. And everything looks easier at a conference. Everything looks easier at a seminar. We're up here on stage, and they got a light shining on us and microphone and everything. We got troubles. I mean, we got stuff. We're just going through stuff like you are.